Hello everyone. I think I'm going now. I think I'm live. Let me see what my machine says. Does it think I'm live? No one thinks I'm live. I am not live. Ah, wait. There we go. Alright, it's showing up now. Y'all should be able to see me at this point. And hang on, let me get everything set up real quick to where I can see the chat if it happens to come through. Alright. Hello everyone. Welcome class to Kitchen 101, where we teach you how to think like a chef, how to cook, not what to cook, giving you the wisdom and comfort you need to create and modify recipes to fit your chosen way of eating and lifestyle. And today we're going to dissect a recipe by Food Network called hanger steak tacos. So go ahead everyone. I missed my little clicky thing. So go ahead everyone, grab yourself, there we go. Finally, so go ahead everyone, grab yourself a pen, paper, and your favorite taco condiment, because I'm Professor Kitchen, and class is in session. And now I have to click the next button that I can't see because that light is very bright. Hey, it worked. And that's correct, I still haven't fixed that little screen thing yet. But I'm working on it. Everything is you know, in motion. It's just all in motion. I hope everybody's having a great Saturday today. We're going to do something a little different. As you can see, we're doing live stream today. Normally, I would do release a regular video on sauces. Our next sauce up, by the way, is called forgot what it was called. It's called Espagnol. It's the 5 French mother sauces. It's called Espagnol, and I was supposed to have it out today, but had a kind of a busy week. Last Sunday, as y'all know if you're from the States, was Father's Day, and my oldest daughter came in town to see me for Father's Day. So I put my life on hold because she was in town and I wanted to spend some time with her. And I hope y'all don't have a problem with it. If you do, I really don't care because it's my daughter. Anyway, so we're doing this today, which I hope y'all enjoy this. This is something different and new. We just started. I'm going to have one of your little tabs come up here that's going to talk about the last one of these we did where we had a video we went over. This time it's not a video, it's actually a recipe by the Food Network. There is a video on the web page, but this is just a recipe by the Food Network I want to go over. I saw it, I thought it was pretty interesting. So hang on, let me get everything set up and we're going to start going over it. It's hanger steak tacos with chile and herb oils. So this sounds good. Here, let me show you a picture of that. I forgot completely to show you the picture. Let me click over here, click here. All right, here we go. So here you can see we're doing hanger steak tacos with chili and herb oils right there. And I've got the link for this is down in the description box below. If you're interested, please go over to FoodNetwork.com to the link down in the description below, and you can take a look at this. They have the video there that I'm not going to play for you today. It's just a brief overview of how to make it. What we're going to do today is we're going to talk about what's going on in this recipe and why they're doing the things they're doing. It's pretty interesting, actually. So first of all, let's go over the ingredients for this hanger steak tacos with chile and herb oils. Actually, before we go over the ingredients, you may not have heard of the term hanger steak. I hadn't either. This is a new terminology on me. So I went over here to Wikipedia, which this Wikipedia page will also be down in the description box below. I went over to Wikipedia and took a look. And it's interesting because the hanger steak is also known as a butcher steak. And they have because it says it's a cut of beef prized for its flavor from the diaphragm of a steer or heifer. Now here is a picture, and you probably, especially if you're from Texas like me, you've heard of the brisket, which is right here in the front of the cow. Whoops, I should not have done that. How do I get back? There we go. Let's see if I can do it the proper way. Okay, so we have the brisket right here, which we here in Texas, we love to barbecue that or put that on a grill. And then back here you have the flank steak, which if you've ever made fajitas, then you've probably used a flank steak to do that, with which to do that. The hanger steak actually comes from this section right here in the middle that's colored blue on your screen, the plate. And I had never actually used this before. I thought it was pretty interesting. I've never seen it in a store. Oh, look, there's another picture Never seen it in a store or anything. Now you could, instead of using the hanger steak, you could just use a flank steak if that's what you have in your area. I've never seen a hanger steak around here. So if I was going to make this recipe, I would substitute the flank for the hanger steak, so we have lots of flank. All right, so back to our recipe. Now that we know what a hanger steak is, let's take a look at what's going on here with the ingredients. Now this is a pretty big list of ingredients. I apologize for the big red stripe at the bottom. Food Network really doesn't like the fact that I have ad blocker turned on. I can understand that, but I even tried turning it off, since this is actually, I downloaded this web page to my machine so that it didn't have to worry about network or any other kind of issues going on here. And it's still, I couldn't get the ad blocker notification say, hey, please turn off ad blocker. We're not going to throw up pop-ups. Normally I would go ahead and turn that off, but it won't actually turn off because this is running from my machine instead of from theirs. So convenient one way, not so much the other. As you can see, there's a pretty long list of ingredients going on here. So let's go over them real quick. We got one large orange cut in half. So you got 2 halves of that orange. You got a lime also halved. Then you've got half a teaspoon of ground coriander, half a teaspoon of ground cumin, a teaspoon of ground ancho powder, kosher salt, 1.5 pounds of the aforementioned hanger steak, 1 tablespoon of apple cider vinegar, 1/2 teaspoon of salt, a half a large red onion, and you're going to slice that thinly. You'll see why here in a minute. 1 rounded teaspoon of paprika. Rounded teaspoon, incidentally, means normally when this just says teaspoon or tablespoon, you scoop it and then you wipe off to make it level. When it says rounded, what that means is you just reach in and you scoop up a bunch of it in that teaspoon without having to worry about knocking the excess off. In other words, it's more than a teaspoon, but not as much as a tablespoon. So we go 1 rounded teaspoon of paprika, 1 cup of vegetable oil, plus a little bit more for the pan, 1 cup of lightly packed fresh cilantro sprigs, plus additional leaves for the garnish, 1/2 cup lightly packed fresh parsley leaves, about 1/4 cup of Mexican crema or sour cream, 12 corn tortillas warmed up, and then 1 avocado halved, pitted, and sliced. All right, so there's our ingredients list. Let's move up to the directions right here on this section, and we're going to go over, and there's a lot going on here, so bear with me. I'm going to try to make it as understandable as possible. Pardon me. So the directions tell us, first of all, it starts off very oddly because it says, pardon me, it says bring a medium saucepan filled with water to a boil. You're not going to use that right away. You think you are because it's part of this first paragraph, but you're not. You're not actually going to use that till down here where it says add the cilantro partially to boiling water. So we're going to start with the boiling water up here because you're going to need it boiling before you ever start anything. But it's not actually part of the rest of this. So bring the medium saucepan filled with water to a boil. Set that aside, boil on a simmer or boil. And now we're going to take and squeeze half of the orange and half of the lime into a large bowl and add the coriander, cumin. So we got half of a large orange. No, I messed that up. We got half of a large orange, the lime, the coriander and the cumin, 1/2 teaspoon of ancho powder right there, and 1 teaspoon salt. So we got that right there. So you're adding all those into a large bowl together. And then it says to poke the steak all over with a fork. Right here, it says poke the steak all over with the fork. Now what you're doing right there, because of where this cut of steak is located on the cow, just like the flank steak, this is going to have a lot of fat and connective tissue into it, especially fat. Especially connective tissue. But it's also going to have a lot of fat because it's got a lot of flavor. What you're doing by poking these holes into it is you're enabling this this liquid, this marinade that we're making here to be able to seep into the steak quicker than if you just put the steak into it. Normally, I do not advise poking holes into any kind of steak because what you're allowing there is when you cook it, you're allowing the juices to come out of it. But this isn't a normal steak like you would sear on a grill or in a pan that you'd have a nice thick juicy rare or medium steak. We're not doing that here. We actually want this cooked all the way through. We're trying to get the juices into it, give it more flavoring. So we're going to go ahead and poke the steak all over with a fork, and then put it in the bowl, turning it to coat. So make sure you get the juices all over all of it. And then we're going to leave it outside. We're going to marinate at room temperature for 15 minutes. So just set it aside and let it sit there for at least 15 minutes. One of the reasons we're poking the holes all in it is so that the marinade, like I said, can get in there and you don't have to marinate as long. 15 minutes isn't that long to have it sit there and marinate. If you are having, like right now where I'm at, we have a big fly problem this time of year. So if you have that issue going on, or you got something else going on where you might have some unwanted critters that you just can't get rid of the stinking things during certain times of year, you might put some plastic wrap over the top of it. Or if the bowl you have it in has a lid, you might just set that on top to keep anything out of it. Okay, so you now have the steak marinating. We've got, and we have used these ingredients right here. Now we still have half the orange and we have half the lime, but we've used everything else. So now it says, meanwhile, while this is marinating, combine the juices from the remaining orange and lime halves in a medium microwave safe bowl with the cider vinegar. All right, so you got the orange and the lime right here, the other half of these two, with this apple cider vinegar right here. Now you're going to add the sugar, 1/4 teaspoon of salt, and 2 tablespoons of water. So to this apple cider vinegar, orange and lime juice, we're going to add the sugar right here. What else do we add? 1/4 teaspoon of salt and 2 tablespoons of water. So we got some more of this salt going on right here. And then we got some water. I don't think it actually lists water because if you have internet access and don't have water, then you probably have better things to worry about. And 2 tablespoons of water. Now you're going to take this, you're going to put it into the microwave, and you're going to microwave that a little bit until it just starts simmering. It says about 45 seconds. It shouldn't take too long. Be careful. See one of my other videos that trying to boil things or bring things too hot in the microwave is dangerous if you talk about liquids, because if the pan you're trying to warm it up in is very smooth, then what will happen, there's no place for bubbles to form when the water starts getting hot, and it won't come to a boil and you won't know it's hot enough, and it can actually become superheated where it has more heat in it than what it actually takes to boil it, but it can't boil because there's nothing for no way for air droplets to form in there to create the bubbles. So what happens is if you get it too hot and you say, why isn't this bubbling? And you reach in, you touch it, and you jar it just a little bit. That'll be enough for bubbles to form, and it'll instantaneously go from a liquid to a gas, kind of explosively, and can do some major damage to you and the things around you. So be careful when trying to bring anything in the microwave to a boil or simmer. This says to bring it to a simmer in the microwave, and it says about 45 seconds. So I wouldn't go too far over 45 seconds if you're going to do it in the microwave. So here we are. I lost my spot. Microwave until simmering about 45 seconds. Now we're going to take and we're going to add that red onion that we sliced in and let it stand, tossing occasionally until ready to serve. So what we've got here is we've got a topping for the steak. That's why you had these. That has got a very bright light and it's making a dot in my eye, and I'm trying to read where on here there's a red onion. No, that's not the red onion. There's a red onion, thinly sliced, and it's going to go right into that. All right, so we have one sauce right here that we've just created with all the lime juices and the sugar and the apple cider vinegar and the water and the onion, and we've just brought that up to just a slight simmer in the microwave, and we're letting it sit there, and that's one of the sauces. Now we have the next sauce. Right here it says, in a small saucepan, combine the paprika with half a cup of oil and the remaining half teaspoon of ancho powder. So we've got the paprika and the vegetable oil right here with the rest of the ancho powder which is right here. And now it says, bring to just below a simmer over medium-low heat and cook, stirring occasionally until the oil is hot and bright red, about 3 minutes. All right. Do be careful when trying to bring oil to a boil. That rhymes. When trying to bring oil to a boil, remember oil is flammable. So do not, you're going to be very tempted to just crank up the heat all the way. Don't do this. Oil is flammable, so bring this up to heat slowly. It does say, let's see, what temperature does it say? Just below, it doesn't specify, but I would not put it on high. I would be very careful. I wouldn't go above a medium. If you have a very hot stove like I do, then you might want to actually go to a medium low. Take your time with this. First of all, because it could burst into flame if you put too much heat through it. And second of all, because you're giving the flavors in the paprika and the ancho powder time to get infused throughout the oil, which is what you're doing here when you're adding these to the oil and then heating it up. You're giving it opportunity, putting those flavors of paprika and the ancho into the oil and making yourself flavored oil. So that's pretty cool. This says it takes it about 3 minutes, and you're going to know it's ready when the oil is hot and bright red. I wouldn't suggest testing the oil with your finger. That's going to be a big owie, but you can take a wooden spoon handle and take that dry wooden spoon handle and stick it into oil, and you'll know it's very hot when the spoon handle starts to bubble, when the oil actually starts forcing the air inside the spoon handle to come out. That's actually frying temperature, so that's super hot. That's well over the heat of water, so the boiling point of water. So you don't want it to get that hot, but if you can just feel heat coming off of it and that it has turned bright red, it says it only takes about 3 minutes. And make sure you stir. It says stirring occasionally. This will help keep the oil from bursting into flames. So, but don't get too wild with your stirring, and do not splash any of that oil. Again, it's oil over heat. Burn. Okay, so don't splash this stuff out. Stir very, very gently. All right, so now we actually have two sauces now. What do they call them here? They call them herb oils, Chilean herb oils. So we got two things going on. We've got the orange and lime halves with the red onion, and now we have the paprika and ancho oil. All right, so next here we go on with something, the herb oil, and it says to prepare a large bowl of ice water. What we're going to do here is we're going to end up blanching something. If you have heard of that terminology, that's what's going to happen here. It says add the cilantro and parsley to the boiling water, which we talked about, created way up here at the top, right? So you're taking that boiling water we had there, and you're going to take and add the cilantro and parsley into that boiling water and cook until just bright green and wilted, about 20 seconds. It's not going to take long at all. So basically you're putting it in there and you're just getting it hot enough to where the green color pops. And once you hit that spot, that's perfectly cooked. You're going to take that and we're going to put it into that ice bath that we created right before. That's why it only takes 20 seconds in there. You need to have that ice bath ready before you put your cilantro and parsley into the boiling water, because you're not going to have time after it goes in there. You're going to overcook your cilantro and parsley if you wait. So get your ice water ready long before you get put your cilantro and parsley into the boiling water, because it really is only going to take about 20 seconds or even less. So we're shocking it now. We're taking that ripping hot cilantro and parsley, and we're dropping it into the ice bath. We're shocking it, stopping the cooking. Okay, it's cooked enough. We don't want it hot, any more heat to it, so we're going to drop it in the ice bath to stop the cooking. Then after you've left it in there for a little bit, it says remove the herbs from the water and squeeze out as much of the water as possible. You probably, depending on when you do this, you could just let it dry for a little bit if you didn't want to squeeze it. But you can. Then it says place in a blender with the remaining 1/2 cup of oil and blend on high until as smooth as possible. So here's where you're making your herb oil. You're taking the oil and the slightly cooked cilantro and parsley, and you're just blending them together, and you're getting the flavors of those herbs mixed throughout the oil. Now we're going to strain it through a fine mesh sieve into a plating container, basically into another small bowl. Now this is cool. So now we have 3 different things to put on our meat. We've got the orange and lime halves with the onions. We've got the paprika and ancho oil, and we've got the cilantro and parsley oil. And you notice that each one of them was done a little bit different. And that's one of the things I really found interesting about this recipe, is they didn't just tell you to do it the same way each time. They mixed up a little bit, showing you different ways to achieve very similar results, where you've got oils that are infused with flavors. So that's pretty cool. All right, now we're going to take and we're going to cook the meat. It says heat a little vegetable oil in a large cast iron pan over medium-high heat until very hot. Again, be careful. You don't want to walk away. If you put oil into a pan, never walk away from it. Oil, as I just talked about, it will catch on fire. So especially if you got cast iron gets amazingly hot. So do not leave your oil at any point in time. After the oil gets hot, remove the steak from the marinade and pat it dry. The reason why you want to pat it dry, make sure you remove the liquid from the outside, because we're fixing to put it into a hot pan to try and get a sear on the outside, to get that wonderful brown black crust on the outside that has so much flavor and so much texture to it. So you want to get all the water off. And I got the little dot in front of my eye from the light again. Okay, it says cook the steak, turning once until well seared on the outside or medium rare on the inside. It's going to take 5 to 6 minutes per side. So you need a pretty big cast iron pan here. You probably want to get the cast iron pan fairly hot before you ever put oil into it, because cast iron takes a long time to heat up, and both cast and oil sucks away heat pretty quickly, so your oil will get just as hot as your cast iron if you put it in there at the same time you start heating your cast iron. And that can be a problem, because then your cast iron doesn't have enough residual heat into it when you put the steak in there to start searing it. You want that cast iron to have a lot of heat in it. So heat your cast iron up first. Once that gets ripping hot, put your oil in there, and then immediately within 10 seconds put your steak in. So make sure you got your steak patted dry before you put your oil in the pan. Then put your oil in the pan and put your steak in there, and cook it 5 to 6 minutes per side to get that nice crust. And leave it in there. Don't play with your steak. Put it down and let that crust form. All right. Now we're going to transfer the steak to a cutting board and let it rest for 5 minutes. This is really important. Letting steak rest is one of the most important things you can do for a steak, because although steak has a lot of fat and a lot of connective tissue, and what's happening here is when it's hot, the cell walls are letting that juice flow back and forth. So if you cut it while it's still hot, the juice will just run right out onto your plate and make your steak tough. So let it rest for about 5 minutes or maybe a little bit longer before you ever start cutting it. This will give those cell walls time to toughen up again and hold that juice inside. Now we're going to thinly slice against, whoops, I messed that up. Thinly slice a steak against the grain. Now if you don't know what against the grain means, if you look at a steak, you can actually see, kind of like with wood, you can see the grains where the muscle fibers run. Against the grain means cutting against it. So if the grains are running this way, you want to cut this way. Now, if that's against the long side of the steak, so be it. You really want to do it that way, because that will make the fibers inside each piece be shorter and keep it from being chewy and make it nice and just fall apart in your mouth. Then sprinkle with some additional salt to make sure it has enough flavoring. Now it says adorn 4 plates with some crema. That is right here. We talked about the Mexican crema or sour cream. Adorn 4 plates with some crema and chile and tortillas. Oh, and herb oils. Okay. Make 3 steak tacos per person. topping some tortilla with pickled onions, avocado, cilantro, a drizzle of crema, and some chile and herb oils. So you've got a really lots of layers of flavor going on here. You have the wonderful steak that you've cooked to perfection. You've got the creaminess of the sour cream or crema, and then you've got the wonderful strength of the avocado in there, and the cilantro oil, or cilantro and the cilantro oil, and the chili oil that's on there too. So you have all these mixtures of flavor, and this sounds like it's really good. I'm going to have to try it. I have not done it yet. Anyway, that's what we got going on for today. I hope you enjoyed that class. I think there was something else. Hang on, I think there was something else I needed to tell you. Apparently not, because I didn't write it down. So if I did need to tell you, it's kind of useless now. Anyway, join us back again next week when I should have my sauce espagnole up. Please let me know if you like this class by giving it a thumbs up. If you want to see more of my classes, please remember to click subscribe and the bell button so you get notified every time I release a class, and you'll get notified in advance when I do these live sessions. If you like those, you're going to have to subscribe and tell the notification for that. If you don't, if you just say, well, I'll come back when you post it on Facebook or Google Plus or something, then I haven't yet figured out how to get my link for the live stream to post it early. If you know, let me know down in the comments how to do that. Again, ex-IT guy who can't figure out IT. But anyway, I hope y'all had a hope you all enjoyed this, learned something about how to make some steak tacos. Again, the links for the stuff I've talked about, for the Food Network, for the recipe, and for the information on Wikipedia is down in the description box below. Please let me know what you thought about it. Try this. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Always hope you have a great week. God bless. Class dismissed. And now I have to look down and click the stop.